Maintain low tones with me. Maintain low tones.
Again, they both good guys. I grew up with both of them guys. I watched them in the amateurs, so I'm like a student like they are. You know what I'm saying? Just trying to reach them heights that they're reaching. So when I watch them perform, it's happiness for both teams. You know what I'm saying? Because I know both of them put that role in to get where they at today.
So the fans are the winners.
The fans are always the winner when you see a great fight.
Welcome to BodyWork. Welcome back. It's Michael Rogers. Welcome to BodyWorkBoxing. Man, I really feel like Terence Bud Crawford fans, the Bud fans, are on that chronic, man. Like, listen. As a diehard Errol Spence fan, and as a Terence Bud Crawford fan, yeah, I said it. As a diehard Errol Spence fan and a Terence Bud Crawford fan, let me say this. Everybody knew what Bud was capable of doing. Me, myself, speaking for myself, I call him the closer. I spoke to what could happen if Errol got caught slipping. He's the closer. Bud put on an immaculate performance. We're not even going to get into anything that was going on with Errol. We're not going to make excuses. Errol don't make excuses. But what I'm seeing and hearing right now out here in this boxing community is disgusting. First of all, the win or the victory has nothing to do with the history. Let me say that again. The win or the victory has nothing to do with the history. Now because Bud won, we got people doing, and I see this other guy doing it. He happens to be an Errol Spence fan. He does this all the time when it comes to Devin and Tank. He does this all the time when it comes down to Devin and Tank. He will, after something happens and Devin makes a move and he solidifies, he goes back and he revises history on what really happened between Devin and Tank. It's happening right now in the boxing community, and all these people, from boxers to promoters to trainers and coaches, it's just disgusting. And now I'm really starting to see why we don't get these big fights. The way people are shaming Errol and twisting everything around and just going overboard is crazy. Like, as a fan, as a content creator, as a person who don't really watch much regular TV that goes on to YouTube and, pretty much gets entertained by things on YouTube, or gets things that cater to, what I like, I go online and I see things and I see that people are opportunists. And my question is, where did all these Bud fans come from? Where did they come from? Who do you give credit for all this fandom from? Because I'm seeing how, the PBC cult and Errol Spence fanboys and Errol sexuals. It's like no grown heterosexual man who likes the sport of boxing and has a favorite boxer falls into any of those categories. We know life is like boxing, and you take some L's. Yeah, people could make fun of you. Yeah, people could be like we do it all the time. It's like, yeah, you got your ass beat. Yeah, you got knocked out. Yeah, you got blah blah blah. But first of all, Errol didn't get knocked out. He got stopped. That's the thing. I ain't never seen so many titles of Errol getting knocked out. Errol got stopped. Errol did not get knocked out. So let's keep it a buck. Errol took his loss like a soldier. That man ain't make no excuse. But here we are. When I listen to that clip they keep playing with Bud talking about for all these years, y'all said I was too small. Like, stop the cap. Stop the cap. And just because you won, just because Bud fans won in the OnlyFans, the Bud OnlyFans, just because y'all won a fight and he stopped Errol, that does not give you the right to rewrite history. It happens with Devin Haney all the time. This Devin Haney and Tank stuff, they rewrite history all the time. They rewrote, once he got undisputed, they start rewriting history. They start slipping in stuff that didn't go on. Like, a fighter winning does not change history. We got to remember that Bud was over there at Top Rank. His shadow, Timothy Bradley, created the sides of the street. He the first one everybody attributed to say, oh man, you on the other side of the street. Tim Bradley was the forefather of creating sides of the street in this modern era. That's where everybody, if you can have a linchpin to that term, sides of the street, it goes back to Tim Bradley. He was the first one that everybody, not the first one, but he was the main one that everybody point to when they talk about these sides of the street. You were on Top Rank. All the top 147 guys were on PBC. At one point in time, Manny Pacquiao was over there. Bob didn't want you to have it at first. But then you had an opportunity to fight Pacquiao, and Bomac said, no, don't do it because of the money. You had an opportunity to go over to the PBC and break bread. But you chose to re-sign with Top Rank. Not to mention, when you got free, your name was tied to one of the biggest gangsters in the world. And everybody was like, oh man, they didn't know whether they could touch you, because just like when you see on these shows actually highlight it. If you look at these big organizations and you look at how a big organization get brought down, all it takes is for one bad transaction. They link up accounts, they see money, they follow the money trail, and they see different things. At one point in time, people say, I don't know, man, you messing with that guy from over there. That was around the same time when you came out and said that the fans over in London were the best fans in the world. Y'all have amnesia. And I'm like, where are all these Bud OnlyFans? They coming out like roaches right now. Y'all should have some kind of dignity. Y'all have no shame. Because if Bud was, before this point, if Bud was that big star that everybody say he was before this fight, before this Errol Spence fight, then Prime wouldn't have lost all that money. Black Prime wouldn't have lost all that money. Black Prime wouldn't have got turned upside down. Oh, but we forget. And I respect Andre Ward, man, and I respect the message that he said, because I think that this fight, as of recent, really gave people a paradigm shift. The real shift happened when Tank and Ryan Garcia actually had that fight. When I did a video, everybody was like hating on my video and saying, oh man, he just a Tank D rider, you know, man, he just, you know, blah blah blah, all this stuff. I said no, this fight has big implications, because it was a fight of a great magnitude who everybody was trying to like shit on, that actually was able to get and garner a lot of buys. It caught the attention of a lot of people. And them guys made a lot of money. And that showed the world that, do the belts matter or don't they? Because sometimes they matter and sometimes they don't. And let's be real, Rolly has a belt after coming out of a knockout loss. He came off a knockout loss. He went up, like Earl said, he fought an old man, got dropped by an old man, and the fight got called early, and Rolly has a belt. First fight up at 140, Rolly has a belt. People don't want to hear that. Jermell Charlo get discredited all the time. They keep saying this big gap between Naoya Inoue and Bud Crawford. It's so far. It's like, man, stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Jermell Charlo wasn't getting the credit before he went through the ringer going through 54. With all of the competition and really any given night, somebody could have beat somebody. We saw that at the 154 division. We saw him going there with tough fights. We saw him going there with the boxer and Tony Harrison. We saw him going there with Castaño, who could mix it up. High volume, change levels, a real tricky guy. He can get loose on you like he did with Laura. He can get loose. We saw that. They get no credit. So now we fast forward to after the fight. Bud put on an immaculate performance. He beat Errol up. And as an Errol Spence fan, it's hard to admit that Bud beat Errol up. It is what it is. But that loss for Errol don't define Errol Spence. That's what everybody got to understand. A loss does not define a fighter. How he comes back, how he rebounds, how he deals with it. He didn't go into his locker room. He answered all the questions. He said Bud was the better man. But now, y'all want to take and act like, oh man, he was shut out all this time. Bob Arum said you was a sucker for a right hand. Bob Arum said we got all these fighters, but Terence doesn't want to fight them. Then you got up there and you said these promoters, we don't work for these promoters. These promoters work for us. I would take whatever money to do whatever. Then you turn right around, you left Errol at the altar, and you went for David Avanesian. You had a glove controversy in that fight. Nobody said nothing. Did nobody really ride on you? It was a couple channels that kind of like put it out there. I know myself, I didn't say nothing about it. I'm like, hey man, look, if the commission did this or whatever until it come down and something official come down, I don't really got nothing to say about it. I don't like the fact that you left Errol stuck over there. But when I look back at all of the schemes, all of the strategy, everything you were doing in the build-up, Team Crawford was doing in the build-up and all that, all of these things on that side was orchestrated masterfully. When I go back and I think about that 50 Cent basketball game, then I connect the dots to the Eminem, then I see the whole Lil Wayne thing at the weigh-in. All of this stuff had been orchestrated a while ago. But who made you a star? PBC. PBC. So if we rewind back to November, December when you fought David Avanesian, everybody knew the talent of Bud, but all these people coming out the woodworks, hopping on the bandwagon, nobody knew who Bud was. The numbers reflected. It's shameful, man. It's shameful, man. And I guess this is why sometimes we don't get what we really deserve. This is why fighters run around trying to be Floyd Mayweather, being undefeated and avoiding each other and not trying to make these big fights, because when we do, especially in this community, in our culture, the people who look like me, in our culture, the first thing that happens when somebody loses, we tear the loser down, all the way down, when you have to admit and give credit that Errol Spence was the only reason that this fight happened. And stop running all of these lies about how you got shut out and how you didn't do this. The Suits probably didn't want it to happen because you were trying to come over to PBC and change their whole business model. Newsflash. It's like the fights are bigger than the fighters. Yes, the fighters, I do agree with Andre Ward when he said the fighters need to get paid first. Yes, they do. But these platforms like Showtime, Fox, when they cut those checks and they say, all right, Hook, this is what we got available, and this is how we're going to do this, right? They have a major say. because it's their networks. There aren't any networks where boxers own and run it from top to bottom. There aren't any. You have market share. And for Earl to build up his product and build up his brand to that level, and mind you, people were crying about, oh man, Bud stayed on the pound for pound list. Right? Which is because of his talent. Yeah, you could see why Bud would be on the pound for pound list. But we're not gonna revise history and not act like Bud moved up to 47 in 2018 and got a belt, and it wasn't up until 2022 when Earl got that last belt from Ugas to where Bud started really like moving around and acting like he really wanted that Errol Spence fight. And don't say I'm lying, because you want Akin Barak saying, oh man, that fight was past me. I don't even know if I'll take it if it was 50-50. Not to mention, you are quoted as being saying, oh, well, if that fight don't happen, it won't hurt my legacy, but will it hurt the legacy of the rest of the welterweights? Maybe. Those were your words. So when Earl got hurt, you said, oh man, don't fight me coming back off the car crash. Then when he was out again, you was like, get your panties, pull your panties out your butt. Like, come on, man. Like this, I see why you got in a lot of fights when you were younger, man. And as a boxing fan, I know one thing that boxers love to say is that, you know, yeah, man, they say all this, they talk all that because they don't get hit in the head. They never put on a pair of gloves. You right. And as a boxing fan, we don't get hit in the head as much as y'all. We don't. So that could be good and bad. We don't get hit in the head as much as y'all, but some of y'all act like y'all motherfuckers got hit in the motherfucking head. Too much. The classlessness, Sean Porter trying to rewrite history and him puffing all this chest shot. Man, now does this make me look better? Like everybody is gloating and basking or whatever, and it's shameful. It's shameful. This is why the people in the suits don't really want it to happen. This is why they don't pull the trigger. This is why we don't see it. This is why the push, it was more push for Devin Haney to run and leave 135 and not fight Shakur to go to 140 than I've ever heard before. I ain't heard nobody saying, no, man, Devin need to do what he need to do so we can get the best fight in boxing right now after the Errol Spence. Maybe Canelo and Benavidez might have been the next best thing after the Errol Spence and Terence Crawford fight as far as the wants or the demand and the supply and demand portion of the sport of boxing. But the biggest fight beneath that is Devin Haney and Tank Davis. I ain't hear no push for it, and now I see why. Now I see why, man. I think that if you're looking at it through if you're gloating, you know, and I think I heard Fanon say it, but I was thinking it. I actually heard him say it, and that's why, like, there's certain people when they look at the sport of boxing and how they look at it. That's why some of us are straight up and down, like lock in step logically as how we looking at everything. A lot of y'all are living vicariously through Bud, which is cool. A lot of us have glimpses of that. We like, dang, man, I wonder how I feel to do that. Yeah, so that's cool. That's part of fandom. That's part of the, just like catching the, you know, going up and Randy Moss or somebody. Everybody was doing the Moss. People was jumping up and, man, you got Mossed and all that. It's just part of being a fan. But what I'm seeing right now got a whole different complexion. And what y'all doing, how y'all acting, is shameful. I salute Bud. I salute Team Bud. Bernie, you make my balls itch, the boxer. Hey, I salute Bomac. I salute. I was saying, hey, didn't you want to match? We wanted to see it. Y'all passed the test. Kudos to y'all. But all this extra shit, all this high capping, all this like big cap, y'all trying to rewrite history. You winning that fight don't mean you wasn't ducking that man for all these years. You winning that fight does not mean that all the shit that you was doing and all that that bullshit that you was doing before the fight, that didn't happen. You said it yourself, it got down to where your kids were saying, man, when you gonna fight this Errol Spence? And yeah, y'all manned up and y'all got on the phone and y'all made the deal happen. But right now in this aftermath, man, bud, you gotta tell your people, like, hey, man, like, hey, have some respect, because if it was not for Errol Spence, that fight wouldn't have happened. And yes, skill-wise, people will recognize, people who really know boxing, they would have still recognized your skill. But the level of tension, the level of clout, those extra followers and all these opportunities that you got now, that would not take place if it wasn't for Errol Spence and PBC, where everybody's coming to put on the big fights. Bob didn't do it for you. It's just like when you look at the great Devin Haney. When you look at how he pretty much, he started at Showtime, went over there to DAZN. You gotta think about it. In essence, Eddie really built Devin, but who got the credit for it? Bob, because he got undisputed on Top Rank. Same thing happened with Bud, but we gonna act like we don't see that though. But nah, man, it's gonna some people that's gonna toe the line and call this shit right down the middle, man. And have your victory lap. I was glad to see Mama with them dancing shoes on. You know what I'm saying? As a young man, coming from a single parent household with a mom, I was happy and glad to see Mama with them dancing shoes and you dancing and all your kids jumping around and all that. But stop all this extra shit that the fans are doing and what y'all doing and how y'all painting this, because the victory does not erase the history. Thanks for watching, man, and thanks for listening, man. I don't even care if I get any feedback on this or not. You know what I'm saying? But silence is consent and something need to be said. It's ridiculous what's going on out here, man. Put some respect on PBC, on Errol Spence, on the fact that if it was not for Errol Spence Jr. and his stubbornness and his willingness to go against the suits and get it on, this would not have happened. Thanks for tuning in here at BodyWorkBoxing. We don't take things for face value. We do that body work.